Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Indie String podcast. I'm your host Kay, also known as Indie String on Ravelry. So I hope you guys all are doing well. I'm sorry I missed last week, but we'll get to that in the rants and raves. I didn't knit at all that week and I didn't really have anything to show you guys, so I skipped it. But we're back on. Resolved the issue I had with the non-knitting. So what have I worked on in the last 2 weeks? Well, after the knitting fail I totally had, I thought that I needed a knitting win. So of course I cast on something new. I cast on the Marin shawl by Yusolda, and it is out of Squish Fiber Arts MCN Sport in the Summer Gems colorway. This was a club colorway. I'm not a big fan of peach. And when I got this, I didn't know what to do because I got 4 skeins. I really didn't know what to do, to be honest. It's like an orange leaning peach, almost like a sherbet. And I was very apprehensive to cast on. But I later found out, because I got this in 2011, so it's 2014, 3 years later, that my aunt really loves peach. So I'm making her a shawl. It's on my knitting list. That long gift knitting list. But here it is. Hold on. That's the back. It's almost reversible. This is where you start. It's a side-to-side shawl. And I'm through that. This is the middle section. And then I'm working my way out. And working your way out is great because I'm decreasing every row, so they're going faster and faster. It's a great pattern. It's well charted. The instructions are very clear. And I really enjoyed it. And I enjoy working with this yarn. And so as I'm knitting it, I am finding that I like the color more than I liked it in the skein, which is quite nice. And so I'm going to, once I get it wrapped up, I'll block it out, and then it will go in the gift giving bin. So for next Christmas. But yay, knitting win. It'll be beautiful once it's done. I'm a little apprehensive because it's seeming kind of short, but it's garter stitch, so I'm really going to block it to get some length into it. So I've been working on that. I got quite a bit done on that. And then, as you know, when we were talking the last time, I had that blanket that I was going to rip out. So that is the Hourglass Throw by Ann Hansen. And what I was having a problem with is I was knitting it out of indie dye and my skeins weren't matching. And they weren't matching in quite a wide range. So instead of doing that, I hem and hawed for like a week and determined what I was going to do. I looked up a lot of different yarns and I really didn't want to buy any more, but it got me. I wanted something that was going to be easy to blend, if not, you know, thoughtless, basically, that I can just join another skein or just blend it for a few inches in. And so I went out, and for the first time ever, I went to Joann's and I bought yarn. Hold yourself back. So I bought some Woolies, which is an 80% quilt, 80%, what is that? Sorry. Oh goodness, now I'm losing it. Acrylic and a 20% wool. And so this is the skein. I just got Woolies. It's upside down for you, sorry. And it's just in a slate gray colorway. So since I've never bought yarn at Joann's and I had 2 coupons, it was extremely reasonable. Wow. Wow. That was reasonable. So I went on and cast on. Let's see, I'll try to spread it out a little bit. Well, dang nabbit, I already messed up, but I can fix that. So this is the cast on edge, and I just started the pattern right up there. So it's going well. I have not messed up. I just forgot to change needle sizes, and I can do it now. So I'll just change needle sizes up for the lace pattern. And it's going along quite well. I haven't knit with acrylic, or I shouldn't say acrylic, but I haven't knit with a yarn that was over 50% based acrylic since I was crocheting in college and had no money. And I didn't know what I was doing. It wasn't only that. I mean, I didn't even have a book. I just picked up a crochet hook and a skein yarn and started at it. I don't know what I was thinking. But anyways, that's going well. It's actually a joy to knit with, and the acrylic is much better than I remember it being. So the quality level has obviously gone up. I'm hoping that I can chug along on this and have another project in the wings so I don't get so bogged down with it. But it's going well, and I'm excited. So it is a really enjoyable knit. I really do love the pattern. So I don't have any finished objects this week. Surprise! But I do have some spinning. So let's go into spinning. I had been working on the, what is it? Blue Moon Fiber Arts, 50% merino, 50% yak in the Real Mad colorway. And it was almost 8 ounces. 7.5 or 7. And I got it all done. Yay! So this is a 2-ply. And I do really like it. It's been washed and flacked. It's really nice. I have this skein and another skein. And unfortunately, it's kind of washing out. The colors are a lot richer, and I got about 750 yards. So quite a good amount. I can knit a lot of stuff out of that, and it is super soft. It didn't bloom quite as much as I thought it would. I think that's probably because I added a little bit more twist than I maybe should have. This was my first time with yak. And it does, since it's so short in the fiber source book, it did tell me to add more twist into it, so I did do that. But this is a good skein. This is about 500 and some yards of it. And I love it. And I'm super excited that it's done. And my consistency was very good. This is the best I've ever done on an 8-ounce lot. I've done some 12-ounce lots as well, and my consistency is pretty good throughout, but it always tended to be near the end of each and every single bobbin that I was excited to be at the end of that portion, and so I just kind of powered through, and it made it a little thicker than I probably should have. And so I was really diligent on this in the last quarter in each bobbin, and they came out extremely similar to the beginning. So I'm excited for the consistency. It'll be a good yarn to knit with. I have no idea what I'm going to knit out of it, but I'm excited. I'm like a little kid sometimes. So the second thing, obviously I put something on my wool, and it was something that I put something on my wheel, and it was the same from the Spin the Bin that I showed you last week. I'm trying to get some of this up. And I put on Squish Fiber Arts in the Organic Merino Overflow colorway, which was the club colorway, and I had 8 ounces. You can see I've already stripped everything out. And what I've decided to do is do a 3-ply and a true 3-ply. So I'm going to spin 3 bobbins. What I really like about Squish is that I weighed it, and instead of having 4-ounce bumps, I actually had 9.7 ounces. They were almost both 5. So she weights her bumps typically from my experience. And so I really like that I get a little bit in case I mess up. And spinning so nice. The organic merino is wonderful to spin with. And so that didn't take a lot of time, or under 9 minutes, and I did, have you guys caught up for the last 2 weeks. So what the heck are we going to talk about? Well, I have a few things, but mainly I've been going through my yarn room with all this extra time that I have, and I've been going through projects. Prior to the last year, it was very odd for me not to finish a project from beginning to completion. I might have had 2 or 3 things on the needles, but I never let them sit in the, like a bin, and just had like a pile of unfinished objects. And because of stress and working so much and trying to decide future without having any time to really spend on myself and what I really wanted. It was just a complete awful, overwhelming feeling that I really didn't complete anything because I didn't even know where I wanted to go or what life held. And it totally bled over to my knitting. So now I'm trying to go through everything and I'm going to rip it or I'm going to finish it. And so that's going to, I hope, help me feel a sense of accomplishment a little bit. And it's going to feel a load off because I really need to get some of this stuff done. So this sweater, oh my goodness, I don't even remember the name of it. It was from Interweave. Look at how much of it I have done. So it's was for my sister. And this is Madeline Tosh in their merino lace. So I'm almost done with the sleeve. I probably only have 10 more rounds on this. Then I have this sleeve over here, and then actually this entire middle part you pick up and it's a big huge collar that kind of like folds in on itself, and because it's a lace it will be so light and nice that it will really give it a nice feature. So this is lace. I believe it's on like size 6s, maybe 7s. I hated knitting this, hated it. I don't know how I forged through so much of this garment. I don't like, I've discovered, knitting stockinette lace weight with larger needles because I just don't think my consistency and my stitches are there. Now it's been totally shoved in a project bag for over a year, but I think it would probably black out, but I just don't have it in me to keep on going. It's probably like every few inches there's a stitch that happens to be a little bit bigger than its neighbor, and for some reason in a really airy fabric it's much more noticeable. And so I don't think I can block out that many errors. Possibly. I've never knit anything lace weight on large needles. But I do not have the fortitude to pick up the sleeve, knit down, knit the ribbing. To be really honest, I started this project probably 2 years ago, and I know my tension has changed. I don't even know if she would want this sweater anymore. She probably would want a different one. And all the concerns with basically my knitting, I think I'm going to frog it. I feel guilty saying it. I really do. I feel bad. But it's not worth it to me. It's not worth to go through a project and hate every stitch. So this is going to Frogland. And then we'll reclaim the yarn for something else. It almost looks undyed, but it's like a natural color with little streaks of gray in it. It's called, I believe it's Antler. And I do love the colorway. And the yarn has been great. So we'll see how it does through the wear and tear of ripping and see what we can do. But I'm going to do that this week. I'm going to rip that out. And I'm going to go back to, I don't know, the basics. I don't know where I was going with that. But I'm going to rip it out. And I think that it's going to make me feel a little bit better about time. So I'm drinking out of my mug. My sister got this for me on Etsy. Isn't it cute? It matches my Indie String logo, orange. Orange is one of my favorite colors. I think because it's so intense. I don't know for sure why it is, but that's the way that is. The other things we have to go through is spin the bin stuff. So I'm almost done with showing you guys my bin that I have put together for this. Much probably to your alarm. I got a lot of fiber. I know some people, if you go to the spin the bin, they have a declaration page or a thread, and then they have a chatter thread. It's actually a very active chatter thread, and it's super nice to see because there's so many people participating. on a daily basis, there's several skeins posted that people have finished. And it's nice to see how other people are spinning, what they're spinning, how they make decisions. And there's actually been some really good posts about processing fleece. So I would head over there. If you're a spinner, you're interested, it's just a really great thread, and that group is super welcoming. But I have to finish showing you guys what I'm going to spin this year. And I'm going to lean down again, sorry. Okay. So to the nitty gritty. This is, hopefully I didn't show you last time. This is Becoming Art. It's just a single skein, or bump I should say. Superwash merino, and it's in the Long Road colorway. And I don't know why I like this so much. It's kind of moody with like little pops of gold that I find enchanting. So that's that one. I try to get some single skeins in here because I had the first bump that was merino yak that I finished that was 8 ounces. I have the squish that's almost 10. And I have another one that's up. Either I'm going to apply them together or I'm going to do them separately. I haven't decided. And then I have another 3 braids that I'm going to do together. So I'm hoping that some single bumps will kind of break up my monotony of these larger spins. This is Wool Gatherings. And I bought this at the Fiber Flock Festival this year. And this is the only thing I have from her. I've heard such great things about her preparation and her dye. And so I really wanted to try her out. But she doesn't name her colorways. And I believe this is, yeah, Superfine Merino. So that'll be exciting. I don't know. I just really liked it. I went to her booth and she has really great undyed fiber. And she had quite a few things, and that's the only one that struck my fancy because I was there with my 5-year-old. She was 4 at the time. Super fun. More on that one day, why it was so much fun, but it was a journey. Okay, then this is, I don't know if it'll be a sweater or how thin I can get it. I'm probably going to spin this. It's going to probably take me at least 2 months, maybe 3. So when I start it, I'm sorry, it's going to take me a long time. I have 2 bumps of this. It is a merino cashmere silk blend from Becoming Art. It is in the Contrariwise colorway, which is part of her Alice in Wonderland series. And it's 50% yak and 50% silk. I really, really like that. And I'm excited. That's why, partially why I spun the yak in the beginning to see how it would react. This is from Highland Handmaids, and it was from her Luxury Fiber Club. She did 3 bumps, and it's undyed, and it's 50% yak and 50% silk. And it's a full 4 ounces. The Becoming Art is 3.5. So, I put them together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spin them and then do a 3-ply because I have 2 bumps of this. So I'm going to spin them on 3 bobbins, do a true 3-ply. And it should be a gray with streaks of this purpley pink and goldy orange. So we'll see. And I'm excited. I'm going to try to spin it pretty thin and either, I don't know, it'll end up being enough, I think, for a big project. So that'll take me quite a while, and it's pretty luxurious, so I'm pretty stoked. All right, that's it for the spin the bin. Okay, so we're moving on to enabling. I don't have any enabling other than the stuff that I bought at Joann's. That wasn't very exciting, I know, I'm sorry, but we're cutting back. I have a lot of stuff, so it's just from the stash. One thing that I had an idea about is I had an idea that I could do stuff from my stash, so stash enabling, where I show you something from my stash and tell you if you can get it, if you can't, or comparable. I have some stuff that you can't get anymore from dyers that are retired, and that's really not fair. I mean, if you like it, then you can't get it. Well, that's stinky. But I could do a thing where I just show you all the sweater lots because, you know, in the last year I haven't knit myself. I think I knit 1 sweater. But there is no need for not having 50 sweater lots. I bet you I have more than that. I seriously have a lot. So I was like, I could just do a sweater lot a week for a year. And you guys would, probably still not make it all the way through the stash. Not to mention the 2, 3 skeins that I have, plus all the fiber and everything else. So I'm a glutton, and I have to say I'm very lucky. But tell me what you guys think about it. Do you want to see something every week? Do you want me to talk about fiber prep and how I decide who to buy from, what color to buy, how much to buy? I know some people are somewhat apprehensive not to buy yarn before you have a project. And in the beginning of my knitting career, I was somewhat like that. I didn't know what I would use for a particular type of yarn or color. And so I really held back on buying a large quantity. I bought quite a few single skeins, and I think most people who have stashes started at least in part that way. As I've progressed through my knitting and I've tackled bigger and bigger projects, sweaters, huge shawls, blankets, I have found how I will pick different dyers, how I will pick different yarns, composition, twist, and then the actual coloring themselves. And to be able to be at a point where I am. What I really like about having a stash, which I don't know if we've really ever talked about. Possibly we have, and it's redundant, and I apologize if it is. I like seeing a pattern and then pairing what I have in my stash for it. Very, very, very rarely do I see a pattern and then go buy yarn for it. It's actually the opposite for me. I like at any moment, no matter what's going on, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, if I have a crying kid, if someone is sick and I need a reprieve, that I can go on my stash, look on Ravelry, find a pattern, and get some yarns, pick up some needles, and go on my way. It's like having a little yarn store. Because I knit so much indie dye, it's very difficult. If I really want something, I have to order it online. And then a lot of times, I'm on the West Coast. It takes 5 days to get here. There's no fault of the dyer. Many of them ship the next day. This is not a criticism. It's just logistics, and it's fact for me. So if I want something and then I order it for a particular pattern and it takes 5 days to get here, for me, kind of that enthusiasm and that rush to want to cast on and get it done kind of abates. And a lot of that stuff I found kind of meanders its way into the stash for me. It's much better for me to be able to say, I have this, let me see what's in my stash to fit. I like the challenge. And I also like that I get to be able to kind of wait for a skein of yarn to basically get a pattern that's perfect for it. I like that part of it, the pairing, the thought, and really going through it and looking at everything and having my own little yarn lurkdom. I would sit on a throne of yarn wonderfulness. So where I record and where I do all my spinning and store my stash is actually my guest room. Poor suckers that come visit me. What I really like about having all my yarn in one place, other than convenience, is that when I shut this door, I always shut it so my animals aren't allowed in here, or no. And also, my 5-year-old is not allowed in here without me, because that could be disastrous. When I open the door, like a fume of wool hits me. It smells so woolly and awesome when I come into this room, and it seriously makes me have like a little calmness in my heart. And I feel so weird. And I know I can tell you guys because you will understand, but some people, like my husband is like, I don't get it. It's I don't even smell what you smell. And I'm like, oh, it smells so good. It smells like wool. And he thinks that I'm off my rocker. I might think that I was off my rocker, but I really like it. So what usually happens is that I have my stash corralled in several different areas. I have some in the closet, and I have this huge, keep on looking over here because I have a huge thing, shelves where it's in Tupperware. And it's basically in categories. So I would be interested to see how, or hear about how other people organize their stash. I always feel like there must be a better way than the way that I do it. I would love to have my yarn on display. However, I really fear of moths. I'm in an area where I see moths all the time, and it drives me crazy. I mean, outside, and I, knock on wood, never had moths in my stash. But I could have it all on display in like IKEA cubes. I have too much, I believe, for this room to be able to do that effectively. The other things are that I don't know how to categorize it. I could put all my fingerings in one place, my sports, my DKs, and my worsteds in another place, you know, and do that, kind of like a yarn store would. But I tend to corral it by product type or project type. If I have enough yarn, like I have an entire bin that's ginormous, it's probably made for someone moving, or, you know, I don't know what could fit in there. Small piano full of my sweater yarn. And then I have like another one in contrast that only has single skeins that I shouldn't say that I feel are more precious, but they're single skeins that are kind of waiting for something really great to come along. I bought them so they're universally used, but I want them to be something special. Then I have deep stash. You all know what I'm talking about, that deep, deep stash. And I still use it and go through it all the time. But anything in there is less than 1,000 yards for sure. And so it's not always universal into what I need. I like having just enough yarn for the project. A lot of times a little less. So I don't have like a skein left over. I don't know what to do with leftovers. Can you imagine if I tried to do a piece blanket where I knit a square and then just left it? The stinker would rot. I know it would. And the beekeeper's quilt looks so cute. And part of me wants to just knit like one little part of it, the one little hexagon, to see if I would like it. But I still know that there's no way I have it in me to knit 300 little hexagons and stuff them and then piece them. Are you kidding me? That's just failure. Failure for me written all over it. Maybe one day I'll have the fortitude, but today is not that day. So this is where I record, and you see me. I'm actually against one of the walls in that room, and it's always fascinating to me to like kind of hear about how people have their stash, what they do with their yarn, where they record, and kind of get a little insight to their life. And so speaking of insight into life, well, we're already in rants and raves. I'm sorry. All you other people that don't like this section can just turn it off because it's more of the same. I got nothing new. Okay. Now that I'm not working, I had a really difficult time with it. And this will be a little bit about me as a person. I know I'm quirky, and you guys have gotten to know me over probably the last almost year that I have done this. And, you know, there's lots to be said for that. But my entire life I've been propelled forward, I feel like. You know, you go to school, then I went to college, and then I got married, then I got a job, then I had a kid. And I kept on like trudging forward to this beat of a drum. And it's to no one's fault but my own. It was self-imposed. I always wanted to be successful, and most people who know me well and personally would say that I'm exceptionally driven. I have never, ever thought of myself that way, but probably about the 100th person that's told you that you're the most driven person they know, you might want to kind of believe it. I just think, you move forward and you got to do what you got to do and you get it done. But I guess that makes me a driven individual in many people's eyes. I've been terrified of not working in so many ways. The place I was at was not good for me, but I had a hard time letting go because what am I going to do? I've always worked. I went to school to work. But it's taken a few months, and I have to say that my family has been wonderful. Both my husband and my extended family, my parents, my sisters. But it's now turning the corner to really be viewed as a gift. I haven't had a lot of time in my life to sit down and really think about what I want for my future. And that's not to say that my life right now isn't wonderful. It is. It's a lot of what I want. But this is professionally, not personally. Professionally, what do you want? I mean, how many of us really can say that work 50, 55 hours a week, plus hey, have a family? There's not a lot of time to sit down and self-retrospect and think, really, is it going at the clip I want it to go? Is there any more that I can do? I don't know, just for me, it was one foot in front of the other every single day. Just get through it and move on and move forward. And so being forced to take a break into life and calm down and slow pace and, make decisions that I probably didn't really want to make about the quality of my life and simplify my life, which is simplifying is great. It really is great. A little bit terrifying sometimes, but it is overall a wonderful experience. But what really do I want? So that's where I am right now, figuring it out. What do I really want? It's a hard decision. And I think it's so hard for me because I don't want to make a mistake and I don't want to fail. But at the same time, I think I'm probably never going to have another time in my life that I have so much opportunity to fail and pick myself up. Part of the problem, I shouldn't say it like that. One of the things I want to instill in my child is that failure is okay. Even though I struggle with it personally. Failure teaches us so much. And right now I'm trying to decide if I should take a chance on something I really, really would love to do forever and fail, or if I shouldn't try it and just always dream about it. So that's where I am. It's kind of anticlimactic, but hopefully the answer will come soon. But I love all you guys, and I thank you so much for watching me every week. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. My hands, and why I haven't been knitting, oh my goodness, I almost forgot. Why I didn't knit this last week is because when I was working, I was seriously typing for at least 40 hours a week. I was working 50 to 55 hours a week, so let's chalk up some to just not typing. Most of my day was sitting at a desk typing. And unfortunately for me, after several years of this, my hands started to almost cramp after about 8 hours. And I knew it was only going to get worse over time. But I would start to have shooting pains. Now, my husband says it's because I must have a clamped nerve, but they shoot down. They're really not my joints, but they shoot down my arm. And I actually have one right now. It's shooting down here. Because of the way I spin and I knit, and the way that I hold my needles, it was super aggravating that. And so I knew that I had to take a break and basically not knit for a while. And I really didn't knit for several days. I would say that those two knitting things, really, the shawl I knit on quite a bit, but it was probably only 15 minutes a day until my hands started hurting. And then I would just stop. And it's sad, but I'm hoping with time, and if I'm super moderate and I don't go gung-ho and try to sit down and knit for 3 hours, that it will kind of ebb and it will start to reduce and not come back. It's been a consistent problem over the last, I don't know, about year and a half for me, just because of that. It is flaring up less and less because I'm not typing, obviously, 8 hours to 10 hours a day. But we'll see. So hopefully that'll stop so I can have more knitting to show you guys and talk about other things. Thanks so much for watching this week, and as always, knit with love. Bye!